Boom, red dot.
Red dot.
Welcome, everybody, to the Fall Line with KS and Company. I'm Dave Caper, and I'm here with my buddy Angelo Ross, and we have a special guest tonight, Brenna Kelleher, all the way from out at Big Sky in Montana. I'm really jealous because I'd like to be there. Some of the guys are out there right now. How's the skiing?
Do you really want to know?
It can't be as bad as it is here. It was like water and rain
epic.
this morning. there you go. We want to know.
It's epic. We've been getting snow for days. Okay.
Oh. Angela, you better get those skis, man. You're going to need some fat skis when you go west.
Got them. Got the new ones ready.
Yeah.
Yep.
They're not Blizzard, though, Bubba.
No, but they're going to Breckenridge and yours aren't.
Well, I got a pair here that's probably going to Breckenridge. I got to get them back to Troy. I've only kept them for a year. I just borrowed them for a day or two. Oh, man. So, Brenna, thanks for joining us tonight. I think the folks are going to really love this. We always start off and try to ask, when did you learn how to ski? How old were you? And
speaking of old, somebody on this call just had a birthday.
Oh, that's right. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. Dave would sing.
I was saying, but you're not going to sing with me, Angela?
No, I don't.
No, okay.
I don't want to lose our 6 listeners.
Really awkward. Good. You're good. All good.
So, what birthday did you learn to ski on?
Oh, my dad keeps telling me that he put me on skis when I was a year old. Like, as soon as I could walk, I was on skis. But I don't know if I believe him. Well, Dad, I believe you. But growing up in Big Sky, we didn't have daycare. The only daycare was ski school, and my dad was very clever. He owned the local newspaper, and he was like, well, if I do some advertising, can my daughter stay in ski school? And so that's how he finagled that.
Pretty sweet. Nice. So when were you hooked? Like, was it right away? Was it later in your early years? Or?
Oh, that's a really good question because I don't. Oh, it's so funny because as a teenage girl, you go through a lot of different weird growth things. And if you miss out on a few opportunities, it really it bums you out a little bit. And so, I wanted to be in the Olympics so bad. Oh my gosh, so bad. And one of the pathways was trying to get the scholarship to Roland Hall St. Mark's. You might have heard about it. Romark Academy in Utah. And I didn't get it. And I was really bummed. But I think the hooked situation comes in, probably when I was about 15, I'd say. Okay. Like, really just like driven. I wanted the Olympics bad. So.
And did you race really early on, like before your teen years?
I mean, we had like little races at Big Sky Resort, but we were such a tiny little ski area at the time.
Yeah.
And we had, I don't know if anyone knows this, but the ski area started with an Austrian ski school. And they brought a bunch of Austrians over from Austria in the 70s and started a ski school. And all of my instructors were Austrian when I was a kid, except for one, Tim McGill, who's still teaching at Big Sky. Whoop, whoop. And we had like little race series, but my parents put me on the ski team maybe when I was like 12 or 13, but for the most part, I was in ski school.
Oh, is that where the start of teaching? Because you started in ski school, taking lessons that you like someday, maybe I want to do that after the Olympic thing.
No, I want an athlete. I want to be driven. Like, I'm going to win everything. And when that it hits hard. It hits home pretty hard quickly. But I raced NCAA for Montana State. And I got to tell you, as a kid, and even I was like, I'm never going to be a ski instructor. Never. I can never be that. And then someone told me that they were like, I did like one of these studies And they were like, you'd make a really great teacher. And I was like, oh, no way. I'm not going to be a teacher. No. And I took that very literally because I was pretty young. I was like, never being a teacher. No, I don't want to teach in a classroom. And lo and behold, I'm actually just going to pat myself on the back, but I'm a good teacher. And it turns out that that teacher was correct. And I just have a different form of teaching, and it's on snow. And so that came after I retired from ski racing at Montana State. And I love it.
Oh.
Who's the best teacher you've ever had?
Oh, it's a tie, actually. Are you talking ski teachers or?
No, just generally.
Okay, so it's a tie. It's a tie between Jeffrey Hartman and Whitney Longsdale. And Jennifer taught me how to be a woman and how to think for myself. And Whitney taught me how to be an athlete as a female and how to stand out in the kayak community, actually. And I really, her and Shane Benedict, they were probably the biggest influences in my life. All kayakers and climbers. What the heck?
So how do you pass that on now?
I think the biggest thing was the inspiration behind both of them and the kindness. I mean, Jennifer, God, really challenged my thought process as a teenager. And I went to a semester program for kayaking in Vermont, and she was the lead teacher, and we went to Africa. And I think I went as a Republican, and I think I came back as a Democrat. Because I was like, wow, this world is really big. And I don't mean that as a teenager, I think the world is extremely big, but you also don't realize how big it actually is outside your own little personal bubble. Mm-hmm. And so he taught me how to think about the world as something that's continually moving. And I really appreciate that.
Is that connected to your involvement with the traveling school?
Yes. Oh,
why don't you tell us about that?
Yeah.
You are good. Well, yeah. So,
you know what? We transcended amateur status on this podcast, Brenna, when we got our 100th YouTube follower, babe.
Yes. Oh, drop in the mic.
Drop the mic. Yep. Traveling school.
Okay. So the traveling school. Oh God, what an awesome time in my life. I would never trade it for anything. And Jennifer Hartman was the woman that started the traveling school. And she was also my teacher on this epically long trek call, which is a whole other story. She had foresight to start the traveling school and recognize that particularly female teenagers struggle a bit because they mature a little bit earlier than males. And then they also, they have a lot of questions that never really get answered, and they don't have the space to get them answered. And she wanted these women and these young girls to learn by experience and to see the world and see what's really out there. And oh my God, I respect her so much. She's phenomenal. So yeah, that leads into the traveling school for sure.
Can you tell our listeners a little bit about it? What it is?
Yeah. So the traveling school is a semester program that formally went international as of COVID. I think that they're looking at doing some national trips now. But what it was based upon was traveling to places like Africa and South America for the full semester and fully immersing themselves in the different cultures, landscapes, and musical art backgrounds So for instance, the classes that I taught were based on, I taught math concepts, which was an economics class, which if you guys knew anything about me, you would know I'm not good at math, but I'm good at theories. And it was about teaching young girls the economics of a country. Like, what's the economics of South Africa, and how do they survive, and how does that affect the United States? And what are the economics of Zimbabwe, and how do they survive or didn't with Mugabe? How does that affect the United States, right? So that they're connecting the dots on how society is run as a whole. And then for literature class, which was my main focus, and creative writing, we focused on literature specific to the areas that we traveled to. And we had books in those regions like Cry the Beloved Country, The Power of One, Don't Let the Dogs Out. And we focused on all these areas of authors that had written spectacular novels that really embodied the nature of those areas. And then it was that much more impactful when we take the girls through those areas and they're able to see and witness what they're reading. So I guess that would be the background for the traveling school. That was kind of a long explanation of that.
It was just the right length.
Yeah. Angelo doesn't like short explanations, right?
Or questions.
Okay.
So, how has your season been? How has it been different, and how much has been the same as we're all dealing with COVID? Is it, are there things that are kind of running the same? I mean, I know like team stuff is different than that, not as much travel, but how's it been going so far?
Okay, for as far as team stuff goes, that has been virtually non-existent except for online. So we've had a lot of online programs happening. But as far as my own personal travel trips, that Patsy, stop.
This is
Sorry.
like perfect for chaos and company. This is because you could hear Jake a few minutes ago.
My dogs are crazy because some skiers are coming home.
Oh.
I live in an apartment building. He's like, what? What's that? Sorry. Her name's Patsy. She really likes long walks at midnight.
Long walks at midnight.
Come on. Yeah.
Oh, there she is.
There. Look at that. Yeah.
Good job.
Pretty.
Hi, babe.
Yeah. And so she thinks Hector. I put the cat away so he wouldn't meow the whole time. But yeah, anyways. But yeah, so as far as the season goes with PSI, with the national team, there hasn't been a lot of travel, as you guys know. As far as Montana work and Big Sky goes, Big Sky did a phenomenal job and I haven't been anywhere else, so I'm not quite sure how everyone else is operating, except I did go to Deer Valley and they also did a good job. But Big Sky did a phenomenal job of navigating the challenges of COVID. And in fact, I think they underhired for ski instructors because they didn't think that they would be as busy as they are. And we have been so busy. So I've been working 24/7 and not just the normal lessons that I'm used to, having, when you get to be a higher up on the list as an instructor, you're mostly doing high-end lessons or the lessons that you choose to do. And it's just been Magic Carpet, Explorer, beginner. And it's so cool to be just like back on the field and playing, and just being like, yeah, this is what I like to do. I got my beginners out here and we're wedging again. And I just think that's the coolest thing. I think that's what COVID has brought out. It's like, this is what we're meant to do. So we've been busy.
I think everybody's been busy. Angelo's been taking a break. He's on vacation every 2 weeks or something.
My life is like a vacation.
Well, you've been on the children's specialist kind of swing there for a while, Angelo. So
children's specialist circuit. Yeah. I did 6 of those in 5 weeks.
I just have to say that is the most impressive I have heard in a very long time.
Well, I told you, we transcended amateur status in a lot of ways.
That is amazing. Amazing. But also like about that, and I go, God, think about all those kids. And I've never met you in person, but I think over the phone we've had in these Zoom calls, it's been so phenomenal. I'm just thinking to myself, like, all those people who are lucky enough to learn from you are probably going to be the best kids instructors. They get out there and just kick ass. I don't know what that accent is, by the way. Sorry.
We won't. We're not going to beat that out. I will say about that. I did.
Oh, come on, tell us about your props. You bring props, and you bring props for them to use. And
yeah, I mean, yeah, and I did the events I did this year were mixed, and they were not like events I've done in the previous years. I did 6 children's specialist events. I did 2 Alpine race events, level 1 exam. I did the ecology course that I wrote. Finally got to do that once. I did a March Magic event one day, 6
with an icon
CEU update with an Eastern icon. Well, I didn't write it. But the thing that's cool about the children's specialist events is that I think of everything on the event calendar, it's probably the event where you can have the most impact as a trainer, because everybody who teaches skiing teaches kids. And the better that we are at that, the better it is for the whole industry. Like the people who were in the Alpine race events I did were going to go back to their mountains and be Alpine race coaches anyway. And the kids who are in those race clubs are going to be in those race clubs anyway. But the boots on the ground instructors who are going home to teach kids on magic carpets can have a huge impact on the conversion rate in the industry as a whole, because those kids may not come back if they don't have a really good time. And so I think it's a high impact type of event.
I just want to say that I agree with you 150% or 200%. What's better? Anyway,
200 is better than 150 in terms of percentages.
Yeah, so I'm going to draw this back to the traveling school just a little bit, but I think that kids, especially learning skiing, that is the most impactful area that we can have that motivation and growth within the ski industry. And unfortunately, I will admit, I am the worst children's instructor. So
you can take one of my children's specialist events.
I know. I need so bad.
We need to have him. I need to carry his skis, and we need to do it at Big Sky. We'll come to you. How's that?
Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be great. But I will be honest. I am terrible. You will have to do a lot of work on me. But I think that it is one of the most important. I will admit I'm terrible at it, but I think that is one of the most, that and beginner lessons are the most impactful as our job in making sure that we have continued skiers in the industry, right? Like when I look at it in the retention program, I'm thinking, gosh, like kids and beginner lessons are where it's at, right? And so I give you huge props to that. And this is where I'm turning it back to the traveling school, because the craziest thing happened this year. I was out on the hill and someone goes, and I train a lot of the staff at Big Sky, but obviously you don't get to know all the new staff. And there was a time at Big Sky, like 4 years ago, where you did know all the staff, but it's growing so fast. Now we just don't. And this instructor goes, "Hey, Brenna," and waves at me and is like, "Hey." And I looked at this instructor and I'm like, I have no idea who. She goes, "It's Anne." And I was like, "Anne?" And I recognized the voice a little, and she's like, "We were at the traveling school together. You were my teacher." And she's now a teacher at Big Sky teaching skiing. And she's now thinking about becoming a teacher at the traveling school as well. And I looked at her and go, "Was I a good teacher?" And she's like, "You were the best." And I was like, okay, you melt my soul, girl. Like, that's so cool to hear. And it was a little scary to just see her come in and be like, I was like, oh man, I'm getting old. Jeez. Now they're kind of teaching skiing here. Woo.
Yeah.
we're really on the map now.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just thought that was the coolest thing. And she's out teaching kids, and it's just, I just thought that was the coolest thing. And then today we actually met in the locker room, and she's like, do you ever feel old? And I'm like, maybe when you ask me that question and you're now in the ski school, yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, now I do.
Yeah, but I'm not. I'm always young. I'll always be young.
You know what this calls for?
A sip of beverage.
Yep, social.
Yeah.
Social.
Woo! Cheers.
Cheers.
Wait, see the label on yours too? That's a nice looking label.
Yeah. What do you got tonight? Ooh.
That's the sweet water. 420.
Whoa.
Yeah, G13. Look at that.
Wow. Ooh, IPA. I'm also IPA track. What percentage is yours?
That is 6%.
Oh, mine's 7. I'm not competitive at all.
I'll drink 3 of them.
Drink 3 of them. He's so quick with that too. Let me go get a couple more.
That was very clever.
I'll be back. Gotta go to the fridge.
Oh, so we know you've been in a Warren Miller movie, and we're doing some filming. I know when we were trying to contact with each other this winter. What was that filming for? Because that wasn't a photo shoot; it was more a movie shoot, right?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know what it was for either. No, I'm just kidding. Well, actually, I don't really know what it's for. I don't know what's going to come of it, but I was very honored to. So the past 5 years, the first year I made the team, Blizzard asked me to come down to Portillo and participate in what has become the Women to Women initiative with Blizzard, which has been really fast. It's been phenomenal because a lot of people, and actually I can't speak to other companies, to be honest. I feel like industry I've worked in, a lot of industries will ask you for your opinion, but not really listen. And Blizzard has sort of just like turned this over to us and just been like the Italian side, the American side. They're like, this is a women's project. You guys run it. You ladies run it, not guys.
Yeah.
See what I did there? Yeah. Yeah. Which, funny enough, I've also learned that like saying ladies to people is like super condescending, which is interesting to me. I'm like, so what do I say? Do I not say ladies?
You have to say it like the Beastie Boys say it, and then it's fine.
Okay, an impression.
Hey, ladies.
I can't go, hey, ladies.
There you go. Yep. That's not condescending. That's the Beastie Boys.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
The Blizzard started this great program, and it's been totally turned over. And so what I was working on with Claire Brown and, it was just really Claire and Morrow. Morrow was and Leslie, they were kind of the visionaries behind this, and Claire's been orchestrating it a lot, was basically like, hey, women are badass. We know how to drop our asses to the snow too. So let's get sort of like mini series together and I don't know what this is going to turn into. So this could all be horse pucky by the time it really comes out. But let's get some imagery out there with women kicking ass, dropping their ass to the snow. And let's also like focus on how women can actually do that. So Brenna, can you come in and tell us how we actually put our ass to the snow? So that was the focus. And, how do we carve like badass chicks? And there's a lot of women out there who've been on big skis for a long time, and you can carve on big skis, but you can't necessarily put your ass in the snow on big skis all the time. And it was more like, hey, try all types of skis. Skiing is skiing. Like, get out and do it, right? There's many different ways that you can ski. So, yeah. Marcus might make.
When are you going to be able to go ski in Iceland with Marcus? I mean, they have him skiing. I haven't seen him taking it yet. At least I haven't seen the video or any of the other athletes.
Oh, I mean, I'm not going with Marcus to Iceland. Probably not. Not.
You don't want to ski in that junk?
No, I'm not in the cool enough radar for that. I might go to Iceland and ski for myself, but I'll do one better. I've skied in Svalbard.
No. Oh.
That's like the furthest north you can possibly go.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, that's without going south.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I went downhill. Let's put it that way.
Toward the equator.
Yeah, as I pointed the skis downhill, I went south.
So how about your most amusing travel horror story?
Oh,
that's easy because that's coming back. So I run trips abroad, and I was running a term project event in Engelberg, Switzerland. And I chose to stay a little bit longer because my sister and I, Keely, where we were looking at doing another women's trip, but we were thinking, well, let's try something in Europe because we have all these amazing women that want to go all these different areas. And I was like, well, I've got a really good friend who's got a place in Verbier, so I'll go check it out. So I went over to Verbier right after we finished this event and this project in Engelberg, and then COVID hit. Last year, about this time. I mean, it was actually earlier. And I was like, left Engelberg and then got to Verbier. And I have to tell you what I did in Verbier. My friend Tom Waddington is also he was on the Basie demo team when we were in Bulgaria. He's an examiner there. I mean, he's phenomenal and such a good person to get to know. But so I was at his place and we get in the gondola and I was going to shadow some of his Basie work in Verbier. And he's like, oh, my friend just said that she tested positive for COVID. And I was like, wait, excuse me? I've been staying in your room for the past couple, not in your room, but in your house for the past couple of nights. Like, what? And he's like, I think I'm gonna have to cancel this event. And so it was going up this gondola in Verbier that he was looking at me and I was looking at him. He's like, what do I do? And I'm like, I don't know. This is Basie. Like, what do you do? And he's like, I don't know. And so we got out and had a conversation. Well, I didn't do anything. I sat there. He had a conversation with his Basie candidates there that were there for some training. And he was like, basically go home. We don't know what's going on. And then I was there for 2 more days. And luckily I was able to get a ticket out. But and I was so lucky. I booked this ticket before our president got online and said, we're closing the borders. And so that created chaos and company.
It always surrounds us.
I see what you did there.
Yes. It's only I've had in Melbourne. Anyway, so I had luckily booked my ticket early enough home and I was flying home during COVID. And the whole time I got into Salt Lake, which is the first time I've ever gone through Salt Lake on international travel. And everyone was like shoulder to shoulder. And I was thinking to myself, is this really how we're flying home with a pandemic happening? Like, no masks, no disinfectant, we're shoulder to shoulder. I mean, I felt like I was a cow in like a feedlot. Like, just keep moving me on down the line. Like, really? So that would be my craziest travel story, is like getting home and then calling the resort and being like, well, yeah, so I just came from a zone 3. I don't think I should be coming. And they're like, oh, come teach. And well, actually, the clients are canceling. Their brother is the president of the American Heart Association. They say, don't do this. So I think I'm going to stay in isolation. And then a day later, I'm not kidding you, Big Sky shut down. It was crazy. Yeah. And here we are today.
Yeah. And the tryout was delayed for the team. And you have planned on going to the tryout and will be going. How much did the extra year, I mean, was it a definite you were going for the tryout? Has this extra year been interesting? I'm just curious as to how you made your decisions to go. Was it right away you wanted to go, or?
Oh my gosh, that's such a good question. It's always been a right away yes. I want to go. But then when COVID hit, things changed a little bit. And I don't have a boyfriend or a kid, or I have my immediate family, but I didn't have anyone, or I was very solitary for a very long time, which is hard. And so I did a lot of ski touring. I did a lot of thinking when we were in isolation, and I had my dog, and I was thinking to myself, God, I'm so lucky that I'm actually able to leave my house, because a lot of my European friends are not even able to leave. Right. And I just there was a period of time where I was like, is this the right spot for me? And the long of the short of the story is like, yes, I felt like I'm worthy. I need to go for it. I have more to offer. I have more growth in myself. And even as a national team member, I think as a team member, it's most important to know that your growth happens even as a team member. Like, even you might be at the peak of your instruction career, but there's so much to learn. So much from everyone, every clinic you lead, any group you go out with, interski, every lesson I take. I think that's why I keep being a ski instructor, is every day is different. I love it. So it's a tough question, because I teetered for a little bit. And I'm not going to lie about that. I definitely teetered and thought, maybe I just want to stay in Montana. But then, as the year went on, I was like, God, I really miss traveling. I really miss meeting all these amazing people. So, and I still haven't, even made it to Masters Academy. I was like, I really want to make it there.
Yeah, you need to come for that.
Yeah.
Dave
next year, because next year is going to be crazy.
Dave and I are going to race.
Everything's nuts. We're open.
Yeah.
Dave and I are going to race it. We're going to race at Pro Jam 5K.
Yeah. So you can be the timekeeper.
Wait. What is this race? Can you enlighten me?
Dave said I can't run 5K, which is the same thing as throwing down the gauntlet on challenging me to a 5K. So we're going to run it at Pro Jam, and we're not going to need timekeepers, Dave. I'm just going to beat you across the finish line. And Brenna,
I wanted to keep time how far behind you are.
Can I be part of this?
Huh? You want to run too?
Yeah, I keep running, but I, need to do it in order to stay in shape.
There we go.
In order to have my next Melvin.
Yeah. So, Brenna, tell us about what is your niche on this current national team?
Whoa, that's a deep question.
Yeah, well, that's what you signed up for.
I know, right?
100 subscribers, man. We're out of the amateur zone.
167 subscribers on YouTube.
It's 200.
I would say my niche is being in person. That's a weird comment, but like, when people get on snow with me, they know why I made the team. And then I know why I made the team and why I'm on the team. I think I'm able to adapt to the moods and group dynamics extremely well. And then I always thought that MA was my worst, but I'm starting to think that's my best. Yeah, like that. I always thought that I wasn't very good at it, and I think that my niche is actually MA. And just being with people. Like, I love being with people. I love getting them out on snow. I'm kind of a spontaneous motivator with a little bit of a director side in me. So I can get this like really bossy tone. I apologize if I do it, but I really don't apologize, because it usually comes full circle and people understand why I have a bossy tone.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think my job on the team sometimes is a spontaneous motivator. I think that's my niche, and just being with people. I really like being with people. And
so that has to inform, and I'm not asking you to give up your secrets, but like that has to inform you going into another tryout. You know what role you played on this team, and you can play up to that and manipulate it going on to another team.
I totally agree with you, except for I'm not 100% sure that that was my role. Does that make sense? Like the team might have seen me in a different light, but that's how I felt that my role was. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that's what my continued role might look like.
Yeah. Well, Brenna, what was, did the team meet your expectations? Has it been different than you thought it was going to be? Or is it exactly what you expected?
Ooh, you guys got some good questions here. Okay, so I did not know what I was getting myself into when I first tried out. Full disclosure, no idea. I was like, actually, it was kind of funny. I wrote after I made the team, or I can't remember if it was after I made the team or before, but they asked like, what do you want your first team training to look like? And I was like, a yurt trip so we can really have some bonding. Does that give you an idea of what I thought I was getting myself into?
Angela would love that, a yurt trip, right, Angela?
Yeah, I was like, let's do a yurt trip so we can all like put ourselves out there and like figure out who we are and become a real team. I mean, we are definitely a real team there. But it was just a different manner. Like, you know, I came from building teams in the backcountry with the traveling school and with kayaking. And so my comfort zone is extremes and putting people in their extreme elements. And then challenging them to think very critically about what they did. And I look at the team and I think I was probably the weakest link on the team and the one that was most challenged on the team because I didn't know what I was stepping into. I had no idea. And I love it. I think it's phenomenal. But what my understanding was completely different from what it actually is. But at the same time, not different at all. Because when you look at how people learn, and how people evolve and change and become successful in skiing or, you know, whatever task is at hand, that goal, it's all about experience and pushing yourselves out of that zone of fear. And we all have this internal fear that limits us to challenging ourselves, what we really, really want to do, and whether or not we're capable of doing it. The team, I look at, gosh, wow, I really was not expecting this. And this is a whole new challenge. And, well, I'm going to put on my cowgirl boots and just go for it.
So when you're at the tryout in a couple of weeks, are you going to stare into the souls of the other hopefuls?
Well, I hope not, but I do to be called out for resting bitch face.
They want your job, Brenna.
I know.
Yeah.
You know what? Here's what I think about this. I think that the selectors out there know what they're looking for. And if I don't perform, that's okay. And if I'm not ready for the job, that's okay. That's not going to kill me. I'm not going to die in life. I'm not going to wither away. Do I love the team? Do I respect the team? I absolutely love my job. Otherwise, I wouldn't keep doing it, right? I mean, I think that's the whole premise behind teaching skiing. You get sucked in because it's the reward at the end of the day, right?
Are you gonna have jams in your earbuds for chairlift rides at the tryout? No jams, just silent.
No, I don't listen to music when I ski. People are fascinated by it.
What about getting ready? Like in the morning, you're making an egg and you're like, I got to go do the tryout today. So I'm going to listen to some Beastie Boys.
Beastie Boys, Intergalactic is probably my favorite. Just going to go out there. I really associate that song with my very first flat spin in kayaking. So on the Ottawa. Anyway, that's a very big tangent. I'm digressing. But
we're headed there in the next line of questions.
Yeah, yes, we are. We're going there.
We're headed to Ottawa.
It's definitely one of my favorites. But yeah, so I do listen to music. I'm a very passionate person, but I listen like sporadically. It's sometimes not even in the morning, but sometimes it is. It's just in the moment. I love music more than anything, but I gotta tell you, I can't play any instrument worth a damn. So that's where we're at.
Yeah. So when it comes to your paddling, how much has your kayaking helped you to overcome fears or challenges? Because that's a pretty cool freestyle sport, and you have done it and continue to do it at a pretty high level.
Yeah, God, kayaking. If you ever learn anyone ever learns how to kayak, it will be a lifelong sport, just like skiing. And it'll take you to places in the world that you never dreamed you could go, and that very few humans actually go to. So, skiing and kayaking are the two sports that can do that. But kayaking is terrifying. It's absolutely terrifying. When I fall skiing, I'm never scared because I fall and I can breathe, right? And the movement stops eventually with skiing. Like you fall, and you might fall for a ways, and sometimes it's like a slide for life situation, but eventually that movement comes to a stop. With kayaking, the river keeps flowing. It doesn't ever stop. So when you're looking at rivers and when you're scouting lines, you're always thinking ahead to what might kill you next. What's the worst outcome? Like, am I going to be underwater for that long, or can I run this line and be okay in this area? And what you kind of in kayaking, you look at when you're running lines on rivers, you look at worst case scenarios, right? And then you want to take the best scenario. And still until obviously you want to run like the world record waterfall, and then you look at the line and you go, well, that one's the best case scenario by 10 feet or a foot, right? So with kayaking, I think kayaking is really, for me, it's very visual and mental. I have to visualize all my runs kayaking, and I have to visualize them being successful, because every time I do them unsuccessfully, I usually end up running that same line and it's unsuccessful. So with skiing, especially back when I was ski racing, kayaking helped me face a lot of my fears and make them not so scary. It made me a stronger person too. It made me just believe in my choices because I had practice and having to decide what is a better choice and what is a bad choice. And then you get the feedback right away once you make that decision, right? So yeah, kayaking has made me a stronger person, and it made me believe in myself more, and it's made my skiing better because of that. I've taken a lot of life lessons from kayaking.
So
vice versa.
You've been coached at the highest levels of kayaking when you were on the U.S. team. Yep. And you've been coached at the highest levels of ski instruction on the national team. Can you talk about the cultural differences between coaching in kayaking and skiing?
Oh my gosh. So unprepared for that question.
Yep. That one wasn't in the email.
That wasn't on the
list.
Okay, so God, I'm now having these mental reflections of my kayaking days being coached, and okay, here's how we'll go with this. So I'm going to tell you two stories. I'm trying to make it quick because I'm already being real chatty because I've had a Melvin.
I think you've had 3 Melvins. I think.
Yeah.
First
right?
one.
All right.
No,
well,
my discretion. Now I'm on a Melvin. Really going for it. But I really love this question. And it's going to make me think for a while after this podcast, actually. So I had I had three really amazing coaches when I was kayaking. I had Shane Benedict, who started Liquid Logic Kayaks. And he was formerly like the designer for Perception Kayaks and whatever. He just such an amazing human being. And I had Whitney Lonsdale, and she is, as you might have known or heard earlier, she is my female guru. And then I had Brian Kirk, which we dated for a little bit, actually quite a long time. He was my first boyfriend. And we were both severe nerds in the kayak industry together. But those three people were most impactful on my kayaking career, for sure. And for different reasons, but if I were to look at all three and give you an overall analysis of why I was successful, it's because they all believed in my talent, but also they believed in me as a human being. And they treated me as such. So the coaching mechanisms always felt very encouraging and to go get them. Like that space was my safe space. When I was ever with any of those three people, I knew that there was this undeniable trust. And when I spent time with Whitney and Shane in Nepal and run a bunch of different rivers there. And I remember there was this rapid called Frog in a Blender. And I was like, God, I don't want to run this rapid. And I looked at it for a while. And then I watched a bunch of the guys run in the rapid. And I was like, they got pretty hammered on it. And I was like, the fear got to me. But it also made me make a decision that was like, I don't think I want to run this. And it made me realize that I had that choice and that my coaches supported that choice, even though everyone else was running it. And so it actually gave me a little bit more of an empowering feeling. But so, yeah, I would say those were my most, those three people kayaking. I think those three people actually, well, Brian, we were on the road for a long time and he helped me with more of the technical aspect, but I think Shane and Whitney helped more with the, like, raising me as an athlete aspect. Like, this is how you become an athlete. So there was the person that helped me with the technical side, that was very literal. And then you had the two people that were, this is how you become an athlete. This is how you become a professional. And I thought that was really cool.
So how does that compare to like the coaching you get on the national team, PSIA national team?
Yeah. So the coaching on the national team is a lot of self-coaching and teammate coaching, which I've had so much. I think the people that have been most impactful for me on the national team have been, well, it's probably not fair to name names during the podcast we're doing, but I think I have done the most recognition and reflection with Heidi, Jonathan, Josh, and Michael. Like, those have been the people that and DL actually.
And so do they assume a different role in your coaching, like your kayak coaches? Play a different part?
Yep, exactly. Like, some of them play a more personal role, some of them more a technical, some more motivational, and then some just like people that I feel like I can call for advice, and I think that's the essence behind a team. right? Is you have a team because all these people play different roles. And those roles are really important to the growth of an industry. And when you look at the core of ski instruction is the growth of the ski industry in all aspects. And from beginners to kids to advanced to people taking trips heli skiing to people going cat skiing to international trips. Like, people have to learn how to ski at some point, right? And the growth from learning how to ski at some point leads to all these other miraculous things that you can do on skis. But if you don't actually have that moment that you learn to ski, then that never happens. That opportunity never happens. And so that's why I think this team is so important. I mean, it's like, I was actually thinking about it today because one of my clients was talking about how he went heli skiing, and he's like, I totally forgot how to ski. And the guide couldn't even tell me, like, no, just put weight on your outside ski or look down the hill. And I was like, that's crazy. Because if guides just had like this much information, this much on how to make your environment more successful, your trip would be more successful. But then I started thinking about it. I'm like, no, actually, that might not even be the guide. That might be my job and the team's job and all the instructors under us that we train up, all the new children's instructors and adult instructors and whatever else. That's our job, is to make sure that they can get to these points and have confidence, assuming that they've taken lessons. And then, I was talking today and I was coaching him on, if you get on a course, this is what it's going to look like. This is how you should perform. So I guess that's kind of a long way to think about that, but I really, I think now that I think about it, I look at all of my teammates, and like, there's certainly more teammates that I talk to than others, but gosh, like I just talked to Anne the other day and got really great advice from her. And I think that all of them provide some sort of an outlet. That was a very reflective question. Thanks for asking it.
This sounds like an article you could write for 32 Degrees to encourage this kind of relationship among ski schools around the country.
Wouldn't that be great?
That could be your niche.
Yeah.
That could be my niche.
Yeah.
Help me find my niche. You know what? Have you guys ever read the book, The Tipping Point?
Nope.
Have you ever heard of it by Malcolm Gladwell?
I've read some of his stuff, just not that one. Yep. Okay,
so this one's really interesting. And I'm going to go back to this kayak person, a boyfriend of mine, that one day came out to Montana, and I had just started teaching skiing. And we were still kind of dating. And he goes, have you ever read The Tipping Point? And I was like, no, I haven't. He's like, well, you should. I think you're a connector. And I was like, oh, interesting. Like, I've never been described as something like that. And of course, when someone describes you as such, especially someone that you are romantically involved with, you're like, what does this mean? So I looked it up, and I thought it was a very accurate description. And I've kind of taken that through, that was like 15 years ago. Anyway, I've kind of thought about that as I go through my life, is like, I might be a connector. I might be one of those people that might be my niche, is I'm really good at engaging with other people and connecting with other people and drawing out information and getting to know what they know and facilitating like discussion. I don't know. I went on a tangent again. I apologize.
What? That's okay. You hit, the questions are on here we don't have to answer because you answered them already. But you do, as we talked a little bit leading up to the podcast, that you do love to meet people and from other cultures, other backgrounds. And that's kind of where Angela was leading to. Angela and I have talked quite a bit about trying to get our members, this year, everyone's close to home. In general, we try to encourage the folks that we ski with, Angela and I do, to ski, go somewhere else, ski at a different resort when you do an event, when you do your update, and try to meet some new folks. We're just curious as to how much you think that's an important piece once people can start really doing that again.
Oh, I love that. Thank you. Okay, so I love pushing my own boundaries. And the way I push my own boundaries and comfort zones is by getting out there and putting myself in a zone that I am not comfortable in. Like, if I know that I go into something and I'm the underdog, or I'm actually really uncomfortable in social situations. I hate going. I have to mentally prepare. I have to be like, okay, I'm walking into this room. I have to talk to people. But once I start talking to people, I'm usually pretty good, but I get really self-conscious. And actually, it takes a lot of mental preparation to go and do it. But once I'm out there, it's so cool. And that's what I think about the ski industry. I'm like, I started doing PSIA stuff and teaching skiing in college. And that was a whole different experience for me because I thought it was the coolest thing. I'm like, gosh, there's so much, why didn't everyone teach me this when I was ski racing? If I just knew these fundamentals, I would have been so much better. How come no coach told me this? So that was a huge thing for me because I was just out of NCAA and I thought, God, I would have been so much faster if someone just told me that. But I think the same way about the world and other avenues of instruction. And I'm a curious person in general. And I like to ask a lot of questions and I like to get to know people, even though it terrifies me. Like, for me, I'm actually, like, if I could just stay home and read a book or whatever, I would totally do that. I love reading. So the mental preparation for me to go out to a bar is huge. But once I'm there, I know I love it. And I know that I love talking to the people and getting to know all their backgrounds. And I'd say that for me, and thinking about how people train and how people want to be in this industry and what they want to do and how they want to be successful, for me, I just want to tell them, push the envelope. You don't always, to get your level 2, to get your level 3, you don't have to just attend a level 2 or 3 clinic. Attend an Aircliptic ski camp, attend a Chris Fellows, come to Switzerland with me, go do something that's so out of your zone that you would never ever do. Just go to another ski area. I think I personally think that's the biggest growth that people can have in skiing, is going somewhere else, doing something different, trying something new. Because what's the definition of crazy? You guys know this?
Doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result.
Exactly. And for me, a lot of times I think that when people get into the certification process, that's what they think that they need to do. And I'm like, no, you don't need to do that. You need to do all this crazy, wacky shit that no one ever tells you that you should do. And they just say, oh no, don't ever get on the heel of your boot. And I'm like, no, get on the fucking heel of your boot. Oh, that hurt. Sorry. Probably can't use that in the podcast, but
we can.
We've had the Boyd brothers on here.
We had the Boyd brothers on here. Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Well, I think the boys would approve. Okay, I'm sorry. But
my wife's going to approve when she listens to the podcast and hears that at the end. My wife is going to go, yes.
Thank God, exactly. Brenna just got real.
Just get out there and just be like, I'm going to fucking push myself. Like, my sister and I run these women's camps, and it's so funny because occasionally a man will come with, and the men will just kind of hover on the side, and it makes everything so awkward. And then his partner really push herself as far, and we're like, come on, get. And as soon as we get him out of there, it's like the whole new woman, woo! I'm gonna blast people and see the bombs. I've never done this before. I'm living. That sort of thing where it's like they get to generate the energy that has been captured inside for so long. And you're just like, let that freak show fly. Woo!
I love it. So we have a few, because that's an awesome way to kind of finish some of the podcast. But we do have some questions that Angela likes. You have your little fun ones. I have a couple little, Angelo.
Right. Yeah, I wasn't going to say this, but I mean, we are pretty tight. We're Facebook friends and everything. So I crept your profile and saw Lord of the Rings on there. Who's your favorite Lord of the Rings character?
Oh, quickly, Frodo.
Like movie Frodo or book Frodo?
Book Frodo.
Not Elijah's Eyes, like actual book Frodo.
Book Frodo, but actually Elijah Wood was like my childhood crush. Did you ever see Radio Flyer? Yeah. Oh my God. Elijah Wood. That was so
All right. Why Frodo? Because I thought you were going to say Aragorn.
Oh my God. I almost actually did. Wait, why did you think I was going to say that?
Because he's good looking.
No, it was more like he could kind of do anything very smoothly. And I had a lesson yesterday who was like, man, you just look aloof when you ski the bumps. And I looked at him like, what? Like, woman? Like, what? I didn't say that, but I was like, what do you mean by aloof? He's like, just looks so casual and easy. Like, how do I do that? So, and I was like, oh, that's actually my secret goal because I didn't grow up skiing bumps and I just want everyone to know that you can be so casual and smooth skiing bumps. So my goal is to make it look like that. So that's why I would pick him.
All right. Gotcha.
Oh God, that's great. Hey, I thought you were going to ask her about her favorite after skiing beverage.
I was going to ask her what her favorite food from traveling abroad is, and the logical follow-up question is favorite abroad booze.
I jumped ahead.
Okay, so are we going with this question?
Yeah, let's do it.
I'm ready to roll.
Yeah, let's do it. Throw caution to the wind and talk about your favorite snack.
Okay, my favorite snack ever is cheese and crackers, hands down. Cannot mess with that shit at all. Cheese and crackers, love olives, especially after skiing. Anything like salty, savory, can't stand chocolate. Like fucking throw that out the door. No, that's salt. But the best après that I would say, like I can't say best après drink. I'd probably just go straight up a really good local beer or a great glass of wine. Like hands down, no problem. I'm not really into the mixed drinks unless I go out to dinner. But if I'm thinking like best experience for après is probably in Italy. And I don't know how it's going to look post-COVID, but pre-COVID, you go to Italy and you go après, and I'm not kidding you, get an Aperol Spritz, which is phenomenal, by the way. Great headache in the morning, but phenomenal. And you get an Aperol Spritzer and like a plate of snacks, just wonderful snacks that came with the drink. That everyone, they just bring it to the table, and you're like, wait, you're looking around like, did I order this? And they're like, no, Brenna, this is how we operate in Italy. And I'm like, oh, this is fantastic. Like, who would have thunk? And then they they definitely follow up with some espresso so you can go to clubs at night. But yeah, I would definitely settle for the cheese platter and a glass of wine or really good beer.
That's very different than the American COVID après experience, which seemed to be a $14 beer that came with either a chicken wing or a Vienna sausage.
Sausage.
Like I agree. I'm like thinking to myself, like, okay, the Americans really had operated correct. And you're like a snack platter everywhere. Yeah, because they want you to party all night long.
Yeah.
They're like, here, some food so that you don't puke on our floor. Here you go.
That's awesome.
I'm out of follow-up. I'm out of clever follow-up questions.
Well, Brenna, thank you so much for doing this. And I know we hopefully have maybe some surprises coming for some of our podcast listeners in the future. We can't give those out yet, but we definitely can hint that Brenna will be back with maybe some guest stars. And good luck at the tryout this spring. I hope that goes really well for you. And maybe we'll have some thoughts. Angela's going to be out that way before it for National Academy.
Yeah, I think I'm going to try to catch Brenna for an afternoon elective and a chair ride and a little maybe 5-minute phone interview. See how things are shaping up for Academy and for the trial.
Oh, I like it. If you can catch me.
Dude, I'm going to catch you. You're going to be standing. You're going to be standing there with a sign. Not that hard to catch.
That's going to just tell all my Bumble dates. Sit out here with a sign.
She threw down.
I did.
All right, then. Smart ass 5K at Pro Jam next fall.
There, she's in.
See you there.
If I'm or let's say, like, we'll do positive thinking when I make the team again.
Yes.
We'll happily come and run that and prepare to run for 5K.
Right on. We'll do t-shirts.
Awesome. Cool.
How do we do this now? Like, sign off?
Yeah, isn't this is the awkward bit?
No, he just hits on record there.
I'm gonna hit end and then it just stops.
And then we just, gosh, I felt like this is good vibe. Like, wow, we just keep going. I mean, I keep drinking and talking with you guys.
Oh, we can't. We'll just hit stop and we'll grab another beer.
Yeah,
there we go.
Food. So awesome. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. Yeah, he's still recording. He's looking for the